Welcome, everybody. This is the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley, and every week we try to bring you stories of people who are doing wildly interesting things to make a difference in the world. We are part of Rotary International, 1.2 million Rotarians in 36,000 clubs around the world. And as you may know, Rotary's motto is service above self. Our particular club, which is an online and asynchronous club, has a special interest in innovation, entrepreneurship, and education. And this is one of those particular programs where we're going to get a good dose of all of these things. Our speaker today, Robert Freeman, is a former VP of a software company. You may remember Sybase, and he did that for a while, switched over to teaching as a part of the team at Los Altos High School, and while he was there, began working on projects related to getting kids to think about what it means to make a difference in the world himself. That has led to the Global Uplift project, which is interesting for loads of reasons, in part because it is a slightly different model than you normally see, and we are excited to have him tell us about it. Robert, I am excited to have you with us. Please take the mic, tell us about Global Uplift project, and welcome.
Rushton, thank you very much. Well, that was a pretty good introduction there. I'm Robert Freeman. I'm the founder and the executive director of the Global Uplift project. And the title of the presentation is pretty self-explanatory. We build small-scale, high-impact infrastructure projects in the developing world. This is the first classroom we ever built. It's in Naramura, Kenya. We built it in 2007. Here's how it came into existence and how our whole organization came into existence. I was a high school teacher at Los Altos High School. Some of my kids were complaining about how bad the world was. And I said to them, what are you guys going to do about it? And they very rightly said, well, what can we do, Mr. Freeman? We're just teenagers. And without thinking about it, I said, you know, I bet if each of you did a little bit, I bet it would rock the world. Well, we didn't know what that meant. It's an easy, cheesy thing to say, isn't it? It has about as much depth. You could put it onto a bumper sticker. But we decided to see if it was true. And I challenged all the students in my high school to put in $1, and I told them I would get a classroom built for them in Africa. Well, $1 wasn't enough, so I went around to 4 other schools. And in the spring of 2007, we raised $9,000 from 9,000 teenagers, $1 at a time. And that's the classroom we built. The one on the left is made out of cut stone. It'll be there for 100 years. That's the one, that's the old school on the left, by the way. People thought it was the Taj Mahal, and to them it was. And that was the genesis of our entire model. The essential idea is this. Everybody contributes just a little bit. We call it pocket change. And we use all of that money to help the poorest people in the world help themselves. Let me show you. I'm going to give you a lot of instances of what I mean by help themselves. This is what I call the plumbing. This is the spider diagram. It looks like a spider that was run over on the highway. On the left there are the Western donors. That's us. The partners include Rotary clubs, Kiwanis clubs, Lions clubs, churches, schools. On the right are the developing world villages where we build these projects. We work through non-governmental organizations on ground in each of the countries. Okay, we've completed, well, actually, as of this morning, it's 243 projects in 22 developing countries using this model. Low cost, small scale, but high impact projects that improve the capacity for self-development on the part of the local people. I'm talking classrooms, medical clinics, libraries, science labs, water wells, latrines, playgrounds. You get the idea. We have donated more than $1 million to build these projects. We've never lost one penny. Now, here's an interesting thing. You can do the arithmetic in your head. If you call it 252 projects into 1 million, average project is about $4,000. That's what I mean by low cost, small scale, but high impact projects. They have 5 things in common. They're all funded by many, many donations from people like you. They dramatically improve the capacity for self-development. Take a look at the 2 pictures there on the left. That's the Kanju School in Kenya. It's up in the Central Highlands. The top picture is the kitchen before. The bottom picture is the kitchen after. I just laugh. Can you tell the difference between what that'll do for help the kids get their education? It was about $8,000. All of the projects are built by NGOs, as I mentioned. We require the locals to contribute 20% of the cost of the project. And as I said, and I'm going to show you how we make this work, 100% of every dollar donated goes into the donor's intended projects. Let me show you what this looks like when I say people help themselves. This is a village in Malawi called Manyesa. About 5,000 people. They came to us and said, can you help us build a classroom? And I said, well, I can help you, but what are you going to do? They said, what can we do? And I said, well, we're gonna build it with bricks. We will buy the mixing equipment, the molds, the raw materials, the mortar. You guys got to make the bricks. They said, when do we start? This village made 160,000 bricks. Does that village want that classroom for their children? Oh my God, do they ever? And that's what we're looking for, is the proof that they really want it this badly. We built them 5 classrooms, cost about $8,000 a piece. You can see the little solar system here on top that catches solar to run the computer lab. This is the best school in a 50-mile radius. This is what it looks like in Nicaragua when the people are helping themselves. See that little kid on the left, 7 years old? He's heaving away like a man on a shovel next to his dad. That's how you become a man in the developing world. You work next to your dad in the field or on projects like this. They're mixing the concrete for the foundations for this school that we built. It was funded by a collaborative of 3 Rotary clubs in Santa Cruz. There's the old school on the left. There's the new school on the right. Are you seeing a common theme here on the before and after for all of these projects? Here's what it looks like in Kenya when the people are helping themselves. The little village called Barahachetra, they wanted a classroom. We're going to put it on top of the second story of an existing classroom. The challenge is we've got to get 20,000 bricks from the first floor up to the second floor to make the classroom. How are we going to do that? The ladies of the village are going to form a human chain, and they're going to hand bricks up that chain, 1 brick at a time, until we've got 20,000 bricks on the second story. It took 2 full days to do that. Here's what 20,000 bricks looks like on the second story. Can you see that? And here's what it looks like as a full classroom. Cost 70 cents per student over the life of the classroom to put a kid into that classroom. Astonishing, astonishing low cost. This is what it looks like in Kenya when the people are helping themselves. This is the principal of a school. She's commemorating the opening of the foundation. She's digging the trench for a new classroom. These are the mothers of the students who are going to go to that classroom. They're jackassing those wheelbarrows to take the dirt out of the trenches so we can pour in the foundations. This shows me those people really want this classroom. There's the before and after. Can you see the difference? These are literal pictures. That's the before on the left, and that's the after on the right. This classroom cost about $12,000. This is the typical model that we use. There's one project we have called Save a Girl. When a girl reaches puberty, evolution has taught her that her body is more fertile if she always has a fresh egg in there. And so it throws off the old egg every month and brings in a new one. The process of throwing off the old egg is accomplished by washing it out with blood. That's called a girl's period. Lasts for about a week, a month. If a girl cannot manage her period, she cannot stay in school. We've invented a washable, reusable sanitary kit, costs $6 to make, lasts 3 years, $2 a year to keep a girl in school. Probably one of the highest returns on human investment in the world. We've created what we call a science lab in a box. It's not a physical, literal box. It's a metaphorical box. It's all the tools, the instruments, the supplies, the equipment that you need to do world-class laboratory work in biology, chemistry, and physics. Cost $2,500. We're installing them in Nepal and Kenya right now. Going to move to Indonesia very soon. Probably an infinite demand for this. But if we can get enough of these installed, we literally raise the scientific IQ of the human race. This might be the most important slide, actual measured impacts. We're feeding Kenyan orphans daily protein for $2 per child per year. We bought the milk cows, had them artificially inseminated. They'll last for 8 years, divided it all out, the cost of the cows by the number of children. Give every kid a glass of milk every year for $2 per child. We've doubled the calories that are available in a Malawi village, that village where they made the 160,000 bricks. We drilled them a water well so they had a second crop. Again, divided all out, the cost over the life of the well. We have doubled the calories in every one of the 5,000 people in that village for 25 cents per person per year. We built our first health clinic in a village in Myanmar, Comes out to about $1.05 per year to give kids pretty good quality health care. We've got a registered nurse there. There's the thing about the adolescent girls, helping them stay in school for $2 per year. I'm going to go on here because I promised Russian I'd make this thing in 12 minutes. Here's some specific projects we've done for Rotary clubs. We've done a lot of them. Here's a library we built in Masai Mara in Kenya for Walnut Creek Rotary. Here's a medical clinic in Nepal we built for a Rotary club in North Carolina. Belmont Rotary up on the peninsula has helped with Save a Girl in Tanzania. There's a classroom after the Aceh earthquake. The tsunami destroyed a classroom in Indonesia. We built that with the help of, rebuilt it with the help of Los Altos Rotary. There's a water system we just finished earlier this year in Kenya, funded by the Granite Bay Rotary up in Sacramento. And there's that classroom funded by the consortium of Rotary clubs in Santa Cruz. This is really important. I've said every dollar donated goes into the intended donors project. Here's how we do that. See here under uses, where do we use the money? And see operations, the $50,584. That's what it cost to run the organization last year. 50,000 and change. That's literature, phones, website, travel, software subscriptions, everything to run the business. But we've raised money from foundations on the specific proviso that they will cover our operating costs. That's the 80,000 right there. And so actually, we not only put $1 of every donor's donation into the project, we put about $1.09. I hope that's clear. I'm not going to spend any more time on it right now. If you want to see our annual report that details this in more detail, it's on our website. What is the potential of this model? It's actually mind-blowing. As Rushton said in the beginning, there's 1.2 million Rotarians in the world. If we can get each of them to give $10, that comes out to 12 million, divided by 12,000, the average cost of the classroom. If we can get everybody to give $10, we can build 1,000 classrooms a year. There's no new laws of physics that got to be figured out. Spread the word and pass the box. Putting it all together, it is within our reach to materially improve. I'm talking evolutionary scale improvements in the human condition by building these kinds of low-cost, high-impact projects in the developing world. They're working today. That guy right there, the ugly guy, yeah, in the red shirt, that's me. I'm in Kenya in 2007. It's the first classroom I've ever built. This guy comes up to me and says, "How did you get this school built?" Well, I was blown away that he could speak English that well, but I said, well, I just went around and asked 9,000 people for $1. This guy was really smart. He says, yes, even the greatest waterfall starts with a single drop of water. Well, I was blown away because he epitomized what we had just done. And we have made that our motto. Ladies and gentlemen, you are potentially one of those drops. And I invite you to help us create a tsunami of goodwill that will change the world. I promised Rushton that I'd do this in 12 minutes. I'm at 11:57 right now. That's my presentation, Rushton. I'm turning it back over to you, and I'm open to any questions.
Thank you, Robert. Very, very good stuff. What we're going to do is we're going to introduce the people we've got on the recording today and then launch into our questions. I've already got one lined up here, and as others come in, as usual, if our team would like to put a note in the chat that says I have a question, I'll let you know to unmute and ask your question, or you can write a question and I will ask it for you either way. But joining Robert today is me. My name is Rushton Hurley. I am the programs chair. My twin brother on the programs committee and our club's president-elect, Nick Lagarde, up in Vancouver. Also in the Bay Area, I have Phil Dean, who is a person I go to whenever I have a Rotary question about something that most people wouldn't understand. Phil understands it. And joining us from Italy, Cecilia Babkirk, our club's treasurer, and the point person for our global grant happening in Ethiopia. So the first question comes from Cecilia. Have you had any problem with the solar panel? So you pointed out that there was a solar panel on the roof of the school. That seems like, all right, you're adding, kind of different elements to the potential that you make happen at a school whenever you build a classroom. How has that gone in terms of adding a partner related to solar energy?
That's a good question. We have not to date, Cecilia, had problems with the panels, but believe it or not, It's the batteries that are
Oh,
the most fragile element in the equation. And that we built those classrooms back around 2011, 2012. The battery technology was still a little bit immature, and we've had to replace the batteries, is the truth. And you know how fast batteries are evolving. Look at Tesla. That's entirely a battery. It's a battery with 4 wheels. And so, you know, it is. And so we're learning, and the technology is maturing and becoming more stable. And, you know, it still serves its purpose. They don't have electricity out there. They're 20 miles from the electricity grid, and yet we're running, I won't say a world-class school, but we're running a school as good as any in Africa on those solar panels. The solar panels are completely passive, of course, but between the panels and the batteries, that's where we are. Did I answer your question?
actually, you brought up a good point, which is about the batteries. I have a private donor who has partially funded, and I will get the rest of the money raised, solar set up for the school that I worked in, because even though there is kind of a grid out there and it's pretty remote,
Yep.
it only works about half the time.
Yep.
Not reliable at all. So of course you can fry all your electronics really easily. So I'm going to remedy that by having a solar arrangement, but it's going to be on a cart so it can be folded up and moved inside.
That's so smart. Well,
Because the issue is even the school is, you know, concerned about the security of the panels.
Yeah.
You know, so that's that was really where my question was going is, you know, are they doing something to safeguard those panels to make sure that they stay up there on the roof?
Yeah, well, as you can, excuse me just a second. As you can see, it's on the roof, so it's pretty safe. Let me tell you something we're doing in Tanzania now. We're working with the Maasai, and they live in these mud huts, about 10 huts per boma, they call it. We're putting up a little solar panel there. It's about an 18-inch by 18-inch grid solar panel, and it's only enough juice to charge the cell phone and run one LED light bulb per hut. An LED light bulb is astonishingly efficient, but that one light bulb, it brings them out of the Stone Age into the modern age, and with their cell phone. So there's not a lot, but those two elements dramatically accelerate their movement into the modern world.
Well, I think we're planning to put in 1,200 watts of power, and my physics teacher there told me that should be enough to power the 30 or 40 computers that are going to be in the computer lab.
That is so ambitious. Congratulations. I'd like to hear how that goes when you're done.
I will let you know.
Okay. Thank you for a good question.
Sure.
So Robert, one of the things that makes your Global Uplift project be able to do this kind of quantity of work has to do with this model of minimizing expenses on your side and finding the right partners. I've heard of plenty of people doing projects in places where finding the partner ended up being one of the biggest hurdles to making more things happen. How have you connected with reliable partners and kept them reliable? This is as much a concern in the developing world as it would be right here in San Jose, of course. I mean, you know, what is it that allows the incentives to be in place for the partners to continue working with you as they have?
That is the best possible question, because if we don't have the reliable partners, we can't get anything done, can we? And we don't want to lose any money. Let me go back to the story of origin. Here I am, a teacher at Los Altos High School. It's 2007. I promised students at 5 high schools I'll get them a classroom built in Africa. Well, I can find Africa on a map, but that's about the extent of my knowledge of Africa. So how do I get this done? I started going around to everybody I know. I said, do you know anybody in Africa? Do you know anybody in Africa? Do you know anybody in Africa? I eventually found somebody who'd gone on a safari in Africa. They said, well, I know my tour guide's name. His name is Mathoga. I go, give me his, back then it was fax. Give me his fax information. And I started a dialogue with Mathoga. I said, Mathoga, I want to get a classroom built. He goes, well, I'm just a safari guide. I can't do that, but I know somebody who can. You need to talk to Karuku. Give me Karuku's information. And I started a dialogue with Karuku, okay? And I said to him, I want to build a classroom. Can you help me? He said, I can help you. I said, well, what are you going to use for a design? Bam, week later, there's the design. I said, where's your bill of materials? Bam, there's the bill of materials a week later. What about the budget? Bam, there's the budget. My point in saying this is this became our model for how to acquire partners. And we've used it faithfully ever since. It's what I call the somebody who knows somebody model. That is, when somebody says you need to work with these people, that NGO has a duty to the person who recommended them to perform for us. And then once we start having our own relationship, and we tell them, if you can deliver on time, in budget, at standard, we'll keep bringing more projects to you. And then they understand that. So we give them a training wheels project in the beginning, $800-900. If they can do it, we'll give them a mid-sized project, $1,500 to enculturate them, bring them into the culture. Here's how we work. Here's what you have to do. Here's how you have to perform to continue to work for us. Cecilia had mentioned when we were talking before we went live that she knows somebody in Ethiopia who's building classrooms. And I said to her, Cecilia, I want to talk to you. I want to know those people because she knows somebody on the ground there who's reliable, honest, and competent. And that's how we acquire our partners. That's how we mature them. And because of that, you saw in one of my early slides, we've invested more than $1 million around the world in those 243 projects. We've never lost one penny. Rushton, did I answer your question?
That puts all kinds of good things on the table. I love getting that kind of detail. In thinking about developing those partnerships, I'm guessing that a lot of the work you did as a VP at Sybase was actually really useful in thinking about how you communicate with them and how you develop, kind of the organization for getting people involved and getting these partners involved. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Well, it was enormously important, and here's why. Go back to that first classroom I ever built. I'm a high school teacher. This was complete serendipity. Let's build a classroom in Africa. Kids have a little bit of fun. But as soon as it was completed, we realized, oh my God, we've built this classroom essentially for $1. I came back, and it takes about 30 seconds on Google to figure out there's 16 million high school students in America. Well, any entrepreneur is going to quickly do the math. Wow, if I could get $1 from each of 16 million kids and I can build a classroom for 9, 10, bam, there's where we can build 1,000 classrooms a year, 1,500 actually, if every teenager will give only $1. And from that moment, after we finished our first school, we started to have, I won't say visions of grandiosity, but we had ambitions, which was keep the cost of the donation low so that we can get as many donors as we can. And we intentionally built everything with scale in mind, So today we can build a classroom in any of our countries in the developing world with about 4.5 hours of headquarters work. That's receiving the proposals, writing the contracts, monitoring the progress, reporting back to donors at the end, because it's so efficient and the process is replicable through every project in every country. We can receive an electronic donation for about 0.8 of 1 cent. Okay, did you follow that? We built the donation process. It's all electronic and it's made for massive scale. For 0.8 of 1 cent, we can receive $1 of donation. This inherent scalability is built through all of our processes. And because of this, everything you see and everything we do is done by 2 people. That's me, and I have 1 volunteer in Boulder, Colorado. Last year, we built 51 projects, basically 1 a week somewhere in the world. This year, we'll do 75. We're completing a project somewhere in the world every 5 days. And so this is how my background in the computer industry came to inform the organization and the operation of what we're doing today and why we're so efficient. Did I answer your question, Rushton?
Definitely. Question came in from Phil. So he's asking, first of all, are you or your organization based in Livermore?
We are.
Okay, yeah. So Phil's actually lived in Livermore for the past 48 years. He's like, why haven't I heard of you? And
no way. Do you know Pat?
Phil.
Coyle. Phil,
Yes,
Phil, where in Livermore are you?
I live out near Alden Lane.
Oh, near the nursery.
Yes, just
Ah.
a block away.
That's where I buy all my plants. I'm out on East Avenue toward the lab.
Yes,
So we're about 3 or 4 miles away.
right.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm meeting with one of your people tomorrow. Good. Do you know his name? Indian fellow, PhD?
Yes.
From the
Menu.
Livermore Club. I'm meeting
Yep.
with him tomorrow for lunch. He wants to see if this presentation is suitable for the club. If you think it's suitable for the club, well, we're not far away. I'd be happy to come by anytime and give this presentation. The longer version, it just is more of this is the real case studies of how we do this. It's pretty dynamic and interesting. What's your question, by the way?
Well, that was it. I was wondering why I hadn't heard of you before. I was a member for over 20 years of the Livermore Club, and that's the club that Good belongs to.
Yeah.
And I think your program would be perfect for them. I'll be happy to call Good and tell him that.
Would you please?
Yes, I will.
Because there's an old phrase from the Bible. Jesus says, no man can be a prophet in his own village. And you can kind of understand what that means. And so I'm not presuming to, tell Livermore anything at all, but if they think that this is interesting, it's pretty fun when you see the project coming in. By the way, when we build a project with anybody more than $1,000, we create a page on our website that shows the daily progress. So everybody in the club, if you build a classroom, say, can log in every day and go, oh, look, the foundation just went in. Oh, look, they're putting up the walls. And it's so fun to follow everybody following the progress of what they helped birth. Even though they might only have $10 into it, they are truly one of the parents. That's one of the fun things about working this model.
Well, I like that. And I think if you talk to the Livermore Club, what you're really doing is talking to 6 who happen to be in this area 4 of District 5170. So you'll actually be contacting even more people, which I think would be good for you.
Would you mention it, please, to Good that you saw this?
Yes, I will. I'll call him up.
Very good. Thank you.
He's a good friend of mine, so I'll
good.
talk to him.
Well, I got to know him because we just completed a project in India that was funded by Los Altos Rotary, where we manufactured Save a Girl kits at our factory in Nepal, had them shipped to India to Dharamshala, and they were distributed locally by the Dharamshala Rotary Club. So it was a true international collaboration, and that's one of the reasons Good was interested in what we're doing.
Yes, well, he's very much a donor, and he actually has a home in India himself, and he supports a lot of nonprofit work.
Does he?
India. So he's a very good contact for you.
I'm meeting him tomorrow at 2:00. Pete's downtown next to the post office. You know where I'm talking about.
I know where you're talking about. Yeah.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Thank you. Happy to see you.
Thank you.
So in talking about this, and Cecilia can probably give a little more detail on this than I can. I understand, and Cecilia, correct me if I'm wrong, that one of the things about Rotary Foundation projects is that we don't build buildings, right? And so, Robert, when you talk about the work you're doing, you're providing an opportunity for a club that wants to have structures as a part of a project become part of it through this very kind of lean, effective system that you developed. Yes. Cecilia, do I have that right, or is that under specific conditions? Can you speak to that?
The only construction that's allowed by the Rotary Foundation is for water and sanitation.
Right.
So classrooms are not allowed, and other kinds of facilities they won't fund. So
that means, Robert, that that creates this kind of nice complementary piece. And as we were talking about the connection with the Livermore Club a minute ago, to anyone watching this recording, when we record a presentation like we're doing now, we'll process that and have it on our YouTube channel, typically the same day. So, Robert, we certainly want you to use the recording to extend your work however you might.
Well, thank you very much. As for the classrooms, the model, we're getting so much uptake for it. I mentioned that we work with that other organization. We do, full disclosure. We just finished a project in Nicaragua for Kiwanis, what they call Division 44, up around the Auburn area, Auburn, Roseville, north of Sacramento. 15 clubs in the division. The classroom costs $13,000. You can do the arithmetic in your head. $800 per club. And they're all the parents of a beautiful, one of those classrooms I showed you where the little kid was shoveling away.
Yeah.
Similar to that, we use the same design, but this is how clubs can participate internationally without a lot of risk. And $800 a club, that's like I said, it comes down to pocket change. And yet everybody is the parent of a proud new classroom.
Cool. Nice place to wind down our recording. So what I'll do, Robert, is do some of the basic stuff, the logistics we always do, and then I'll hand it back to you for a final word before we finish. So all of you who have joined us this week, thank you very much for watching this recording. I hope that you are enjoying the kinds of stories that we put out. We love sharing the kind of energy and good news that comes from people who found innovative ways to make a difference in the lives of others. And tell us you're here. A little farther down the page, you'll find an attendance form that, if filled out properly, will allow you to pass along an email that we generate automatically that you can get to your club secretary so that you can make up a missed meeting for your own club if you are focused on that. Additionally, a little farther down the page is our discussion forum, Discuss, DISQUS, and you can leave comments about this program, about other elements of the meeting. You can respond to what others have had to say there. It's one of the ways that in an online and asynchronous club, we connect with each other and share ideas. As we always like to do, we hand it back to our speaker for the final word. And so, Robert, I hand the mic back to you.
Oh, thank you, Rushton. Well, I think the concept is pretty simple. Everybody puts in just a little bit. And by working together, we can do things that are much bigger than any of us can do individually or even as a club. I invite your club, if you'd like to do a project, I'll work with Rushton or whomever it is to pick a project. You can pick the country, you can pick the field, education, sanitation, health, nutrition. You can pick the scale of it. And we'll do one to demonstrate to you how easy and how rewarding it is. We literally, this is no hyperbole. It's not metaphor. It's not rhetorically. We can literally change the world. And I invite you to help me do that. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, Robert. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.